I am the Director of Cardiovascular Prevention at Oregon Health and Science University, and I've asked Altair to cook something for our patient as part of the Heart Protection Kitchen.
So I'm gonna make us some kind of like bowls. They're pretty trendy right now, but they're gonna be topped with a little peanut butter sauce. They're gonna have their vegan, little chickpeas, brown rice, cauliflower, all good stuff. We're gonna start out with the chickpeas. They're roasted, and I already made some ahead of time, so I'm only doing it with a couple here, but we got the full recipe somewhere. And so I'm just gonna dump them into a bowl-ski. I got just a can of 15-ounce chickpeas. Garlic, onion powder, cayenne, and a little smoked paprika. That's mainly what I'm going to be using to flavor these chickpeas, but you can swipe out that smoked paprika for something different, like curry, if you want to. I'm going to just sprinkle a liberal amount of cayenne on these. Yeah, they're just right here. And you can do more or less depending on how spicy you like your things, but I like them pretty spicy. And just toss in a bunch of these stuff on here. It's pretty easy. I like these onion flakes because they're crunchy. And
where do you buy them?
I don't know, my mama gets them. So, but they're pretty crunchy and they're tasty. So what I think really makes these roasted chickpeas like really good is that I add some agave nectar to them, and it like kind of caramelizes in the oven.
Can you show what that is?
Yeah, it's just agave nectar, commonly used in drinks or oatmeal, tea. But yeah, I'm just gonna sprinkle like half a tablespoon on there. It's gonna get really nice and caramelly in the oven, which by the way is preheated to 375. And then I'm also gonna give them a tiny little bit of olive oil. Now these chickpeas have been rinsed and drained. It's really important to do that because the aquafaba that they sit in is like really salty. So I'm just gonna mix this up real nice.
Very low in salt.
Yeah. And, we're also going to add some dried parsley. This helps. And we can also add in some pepper. And then if you want to add in a little extra salt, you can do that. But for me, since everything else gets salted pretty well, I just like to leave them like this. Yeah, well, right now we're just mixing them, and then literally we're just going to throw them on this sheet right here. I'm just gonna throw this in there, and then you want to bake them for like 30 minutes, but it's really up to you. You can like leave them in there a little longer if you want them crispier. All right, so next up, we're gonna move on to the cauliflower. We just got some frozen cauliflower up here, and we're pretty much gonna do the same thing to them. Hit them with like a tiny little bit of olive oil, just all over, and then some smoked paprika, and the same seasonings from before. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pan roast this cauliflower, and it should only take about like 10 minutes, but what I really wanna see is a lot of color on them. Nothing makes me sadder than non-colorized pan-fried vegetables. So we're gonna get them nice and golden today.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So we're gonna hit this with a little pepper that we have literally none of. And then some salt. Give these a kind of little mix to the best of your abilities, but so long as they got a little bit of seasoning on them, this is gonna taste real nice. I'm heating up this pan. No need to add oil or anything because these are pretty oily already. But once it feels pretty hot, you just want to throw them in there. And don't really move them. I just like to place them where they're gonna get some color. So, like this on their sides, I guess. And then we're gonna just leave them here for like a good couple minutes on high heat to get some nice color on them. And right here, we got about fat cups worth of just pre-made brown rice. It's been steaming, but I like brown rice. It's nice and chewy and good for you. I'm gonna use this same pan afterwards to make some spinach with a lot of the same flavors. So these boys are already starting to get some color on them. Oh, that one looks nice. Look at that. So basically these are getting a nice char on them. I want to turn them over so they get a char on each side. I like them pretty charred, but I know like if you want to just like keep it on medium heat for a longer time, you can get like a golden color.
I need to ask you a question though, because I know that some of the people that watch, including some of my patients, don't cook often like me.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you say to me you can start from frozen or just taken out of the freezer or something that was being thawing for a while, like isn't that affecting the time of
Well, yeah,
roasting?
but it's not really gonna affect the time it takes for it to get a nice like char on the outside. It's gonna like these boys, they're getting nice color right now, but they're still pretty firm.
Okay.
So once they're done getting all nice and colorized the way I like them to, I'm gonna add a teaspoon of water and just let them steam with like a cover so that they cook all the way through.
Okay.
But right now I'm gonna prioritize getting a crispy, crunchy outside because you can't really get that after you steam them.
Okay.
Well, I'm just gonna add in.
So you
this
use
is
the
like
same bowl for the
this is the leftover like spices from when I like mixed up the roasted chickpeas, and I'm just gonna add in a little bit of olive oil to this pan to kind of loosen them up, and then we're just gonna use these residual spices to add to the spinach, so that it's got a little bit of flavor while you mix them. But these boys are about done, so now I'm gonna move them over to this plate. So this is what we got working for us right here, Ski.
Very nice.
And now some of those like onions that we use kind of burned in the pan, so I'm just gonna wipe them up. And then we'll add in our spinach. So here we have our spinach.
Spinach, what did you do? You washed them?
Yeah, I washed them. This is probably like a cup and a half of spinach. You're probably going to want to use a little bit more, but you know me. I'm going to also add in these spices and oil.
And what's the objective? Is to flatten them out?
Yeah, just kind of cook them a little bit. I mean, I don't love raw spinach. I don't think a lot of people do, so it's kind of more palatable this way. We can also add in just a tiny bit of water, which will help with the wilting. But this will go really fast. So one of the cool things about this dish is that like it only takes like one pan. I just use this pan for the cauliflower, and then I'm gonna use it for the spinach, and then finally I'm gonna use it for the sauce at the end. And I think it's kind of important that you don't wash the pan out because it saves a lot of like residual oil and just flavor from the spices and from the vegetables that we cooked in here, which is just like delicious. Color is flavor in cooking, so we want to see color. And these look about good.
Oh, that was fast.
Yeah, and also look how it disappeared. Spinach is like the magic vegetable that just completely disappeared. So that's ready, and now the last thing that we have to do is just make our peanut butter sauce.
Okay.
So we're going to take some peanut butter and some miso and some sriracha. So we have these three things, off-brand sriracha, and we're just gonna add in some peanut butter to begin with. So about like, I'll do probably about 2 tablespoons.
2?
Yeah. But again, the
the recipe will say exactly how much.
But it's gonna go right in the hot pan. It's immediately gonna start melting, which is what we want. And still over no heat, but I'm gonna add it on like a tiny little low simmer. We really don't want this to get too hot because it'll curdle or burn. And now, this is what makes it really delicious. We're gonna add in like a 1/4 of a tablespoon or of a teaspoon of white miso. I get this at OHSU Knight, but you can probably get it at any like Asian food store. And this like miso is actually the most delicious miso I've ever put on my taste buds. You can put it in literally anything, ramen, soup, like pasta, like it tastes amazing. And the only thing is that it's super salty, so you want to use a very tiny amount of it, but it definitely is a game changer when it comes to flavor. So really tiny amount compared to that peanut butter. Throw that in there. But so I'm just gonna add some water to this to thin it out. And again, I'm using the same bowl that has all of those residual spices. It's gonna look kind of odd at first, but as it melts, it'll combine. So as it's melting, it's kind of coming together with the water. And it's pretty thin right now, which is purposeful because we want to cook it down a little bit so it doesn't have like a raw peanut butter flavor. And it'll get a little thicker when we do that. So I'm just going to turn it up on low.
It looks smooth.
And now we're going to add in some spices, some garlic powder. It's always tasty in peanut butter sauce and in general. And again, if you want to add like smoked paprika here, you can do that. But I'm going to add onion and garlic and then some pepper. And then we're gonna add our off-brand sriracha. And do as much of this as you like. I like a lot because I love sriracha. But again, recipes in the description.
Yeah, sriracha is also hot, right?
Yeah, it's spicy, but it's not that spicy. Alright, so everything's looking pretty good to me. We're just gonna shut this off so it doesn't get too thick, and then we're ready to prepare our bolski. So if you want to pan over here, Mr. Cameraman, we have our beautiful bowl. So here I'm going to first add a scoop of rice for the base. This rice is well cooked, which is like quite an accomplishment for me. And then we're going to add in our chickpeas.
On one side?
Yeah. Our cauliflower. Our spinach, which we definitely should have made a lot more of.
Yeah, that's that is really pretty and representative, and I think the final composition is exactly what you planned.
And then, so we also have an avocado in this dish, which helps because avocado always helps. I'm just going to slice it. And then add a couple of slices to this bowl.
Wow, that is the quickest way of putting an avocado on a plate that I've ever seen. Very good.
So, we're just going to top it with some parsley and cilantro. Fresh from our garden.
Okay.
And then, hit it with a little drizzle of peanut butter sauce. And also, you can add some lime to the peanut butter sauce, but I'm actually just going to add it directly on top.
At the end?
I'm just going to add it on top right now.
On top of it. Okay. That looks nice, and since I've tried it before, I know that it is delicious.
So yeah, it's an easy dish. It's pretty fast. You can make some of the stuff ahead of time, like the chickpeas.
So thank you, Altair. So this is another production of the Heart Protection Kitchen, which is sponsored by OHSU, just for the sake of all our viewers, but when we're live is mostly for our patients. We try to give healthy plates with recipes that are quick and easy and inexpensive.